Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Dick Lavine. I'm the very senior fiscal analyst for Every Texan. And I'll try to concentrate just sort of thematically on the equity aspects of all these bills. We have registered positions on all 6 of them. We are not at this point in favor of reducing taxes at all because we're concentrating on first having adequate funding for public services, especially in this context for schools through using enrollment rather than average daily attendance, and for increasing the basic allotment, not just to catch up to what's been lost for inflation, but to anticipate the needs of the schools at least through the next biennium, 30 months in the future. But we would like to point out that the flat dollar homestead exemption and, in fact, the flat dollar BPP exemption is the kind of exemption that we would favor, because as a percentage of family income or percentage of a business's income, it focuses on those who need the relief the most. But I would like to, Madam Chair, suggest, and I know this is a little unusual, but under the Senate rules, Senate Rule 7.09G, it is possible for you at your discretion to request a tax equity note. And the equity note would, just to read it, estimate the general effects of the proposal on the distribution of tax and fee burden among individuals and businesses. Now, the rule says this should only apply for state tax and fees, and we're talking about school property tax. But these bills obviously are of great interest to the public. School funding is really so intricately woven between state and local that in essence it's affecting the state. And I think, in fact, some of your proposals will look pretty good if you do this. So I think it would be a good precedent to set for major bills, certainly like this, so that people can see, as I said, it's not just by family income, which is what I usually testify on, but also between different business sectors to see how the business personal property or other things you may consider could be affected. And last thing on the equity theme having to do with a collar between the highest and lowest compressed tax rate. I've been here just one session less than Dale. And so I remember the Edgewood cases. I wrote them up when I was at House Research. The essential equity provision of Edgewood is that you would get similar yield for similar effort. The idea being that the taxpayers would be treated roughly the same because they would be generating what they need to fund their schools. Now what we have is everybody, as the commissioner said, the student funding is the same for every district, adjusted for student characteristics and all, but now you will be getting drastically different tax rates to achieve that same entitlement. This is something that the court talked about. I honestly don't remember if it was Edgewood 3 or 4, but the problem is you start to get what would essentially tax havens, so that you get some districts taxing at 80 cents and some districts taxing at, what would it be, 65 cents with a 20% collar. Well, the 65 cent district will start attracting more businesses and more families. Well, their value growth will be accelerated, which means that the compression will be even greater there. And you'll start to pull apart not between rich and poor districts, but between fast-growing and slower-growing districts. I think that would be disruptive, not so much from the school finance point of view, but sort of from an overall tax point of view, where you get really dramatically different tax rates in different school districts, even though the funding per student is the same in each one.
Sure.
Right, Senator Betancourt.
And, Dick, I really appreciate you coming to testify, because one reason why I asked you to, because you want to hear everybody's point of view. I'm really happy to hear about the idea that the fixed homestead exemptions and the BPP exemption is something that you would approve. And when you look at the collar, right? That's the term that you use. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's always a question of where that collar can go from a public policy perspective, and I know that now from a tax side that collar is too low. Okay. So when we talk about loosening it, we'll continue to have our good discussions about what that actually means, because part of it is that with all this public policy, I put, and many people have, I could list out a whole list that have really put a lot of effort in this bill package to try to look at all points of view and try to make sure that we're making the right decision. So, so the fact that we agree now, some is excellent.
Some.
Yeah, right. Okay, so, and we'll continue the discussion on what we do not. So thanks for your testimony.
No, thank you, Senator. I always enjoy exchanging views with you, and thank you for listening to me.
Okay.
Thank you very much for being here. And then we have Glenn Hamer.
Thank you.